What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made these. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, barky, medium rare, tender, amazing! Smoked medium rare beef ribs that are in fact nice and tender. And it only took 3 days. Coming up! These are some beef ribs. Pat them dry. And what I got here is some classic beef short ribs, the beef plate ribs. These are the standard barbecue dinosaur ribs that you see at all the barbecue joints here in Texas. But today we're gonna do something a little bit differently than my normal beef rib cook. And that's because a few years back, and by a few years, I mean like 7 years ago, I was working with Leroy and Lewis out in San Angelo, Texas with a guy named Andrew Weishart, who brought a very interesting dish to the event. And basically what he did is he had some short ribs that he grilled or seared or smoked or something, and then sous vide them for 3 days. And what resulted was a really tender beef rib with a beautiful crust on it, but it was still pink on the inside. And it was really bizarre seeing like a medium rare beef rib that was actually tender. Because if you've ever tried to cook a beef rib or any kind of short rib to medium rare, it is super tough and not very appetizing. But these ones were almost as tender as a barbecue rib that you take off the old offset. And it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I've never done it, so today is the day. And yesterday I Googled it to see if anyone else has done it, and of course Josh Weissman did it a few years ago. But nonetheless, we're gonna try it today and see how it comes out. But first things first, I'm gonna do a little bit of trimming on these, which is something I usually don't do if I'm cooking these on the offset. But because these ribs are never gonna go above 140 degrees, all this extra fat on here might not have time to render. Well, it'll have time to render, but it won't have the temperature in theory. But also, these are prime beef ribs because that's all they have at the grocery store around me. And they've got a lot of intramuscular fat, so I'm not too concerned about a big fat cap. I'm not gonna take it all the way down, but just some of this extra stuff. Just a light layer of fat. You could definitely take this all the way down if you wanted to. But to be completely honest, I'm kind of curious to see if the membrane will break down. But there's really not much of it on here anyway. And just like that, all trimmed up. I did go a little more aggressive than I initially planned, but we still got some fat over here and in the corners, which I'm fine with. And I could dig out this big pocket of fat, but then I'd lose this piece of meat on top. So I think we're just gonna roll with it. But for now, we need to get this thing seasoned up. And for our rub today, I'm gonna go on with some good old-fashioned Chuds BBQ SPG. This is what I put on most of my barbecue beef. But first, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of spray oil, just to act as a binder, which is something I really only do on beef ribs, and I'm not sure why. Mostly for the membrane side, but I wanna make sure this rub really does stick because we're gonna be sous videing it for 3 days. And it's not gonna be cooking for nearly as long as a barbecue rib. So, nice healthy coating of this stuff all the way around. You really can't overdo it, which is very convenient. And we're not gonna forget the sides. 'Twould be a rookie move. A lot of black pepper, a little bit of garlic, good amount of salt. And that's looking pretty good to me. Beep, beep, beep. We're gonna flip it over and do the underside as well. Not really necessary, but I think it helps the presentation and adds more flavor. Flip it back over, and because I'm feeling a little cheeky today, I'm gonna go on with some Chuds BBQ Secret Salt. But of course, you could easily make your own SPG. The recipe's right on the label. And grab whatever your favorite seasoned salt is. But I like this combination quite a bit. Adds a little extra savory note. And this stuff is kosher salt, so it's a lot harder to overdo it. But just like that, this rack of ribs is looking pretty much perfect to me. Let's go ahead and fire up the pit. There's a snake in my butt. And on the pit we go. Just got a couple of logs in there because we're gonna cook this pretty low and slow because again, we're only taking this up to about 135, 140. So the game plan here is to basically cook this like a prime rib. You know, rock some really low and slow temperatures to bring it up to that medium rare temperature as slowly as possible. That way we get some good smoke flavor and ideally some good color, but I'm not really sure how much bark we can build up in the few hours it's gonna take to bring this thing up to temp. But I'm gonna rock this thing around 225, maybe 250 to build up some good smoke flavor. And another thing is I've had a lot of cold smoked barbecue lately that has just been way too smoky and a little dirty. So I'm gonna do my best to maintain a clean fire, but a low fire. So we're gonna check back in on this in a couple hours and see how it comes out. We're about 3.5 hours into this cook, and this thing has come up to about 130, 135 in some places degrees. Have my little RFX in there to let me know, which is super convenient, but we can take that out of there. And we're looking pretty good, you know? Got some good color, definitely nice and smoky. Apparently there's a really big gash in there that I missed during the trim up, but that's okay. Feeling good, smelling smoky, so off this comes to rest. And looking at it up close here, it definitely got some good color. I can smell it from here, but I'm not sure if that's the exact bark we're gonna go for. But for now, we're gonna vac seal this up and pop it into a sous vide, and then we can deal with the color at the end if we wanna give it a quick sear or something. But first, I'm gonna let this rest for a little bit to kind of carry over and cool down a little bit. So I didn't film it, but I let those ribs rest down and carry over, and then I tried to vac seal them up, but they didn't fit in any of my vac seal bags. So I drove down to the Chud shop where we've got bigger bags, sealed it up, brought it back, and I popped it in a water bath at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and they've been sitting there for about 24 hours at this point, and so far everything seems to be going according to plan, which is great because whenever you're vac sealing things with bones in it, there's a pretty high likelihood that those bones are going to pop the bag, and we definitely don't want that because then a bunch of water is going to seep into those beef ribs and get them all soggy and not be a good situation for the meat or for the circulator. But at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, we are out of the danger zone, so this should be nice and safe, and we're just going to let them go for another 2 days. This video is brought to you by DoorDash. With DoorDash, you can have almost anything you need from your local neighborhood delivered right to your door, whether that's food, flowers, booze, ingredients, retail items, or pretty much anything you may need. DoorDash is not just an on-demand delivery platform, but it's a really great way to just make your life a little bit easier, especially this time of year when it's getting pretty hectic around the holidays. Having a platform where you can get pretty much anything you need delivered right to your door comes in really handy and is super convenient. And I gotta say, using DoorDash is really convenient because, especially for me on this channel, I spend a lot of time doing really long cooks that span hours, and there has been countless times where I'm halfway through a recipe and I realize that I forgot a certain ingredient or I ran out of something that I need to finish the video, but I got the offset fired up and I don't want to leave that alone unattended. One, for temp swing reasons, but also I don't want to burn the house down and leave a live fire going in the backyard when I'm home alone. But with DoorDash, I can have any ingredients delivered right to my house, and it has come in handy more than once. Another time I use DoorDash is again when I'm doing a long cook, don't want to leave the house, but I also don't want to cook another meal, aka lunch, while I'm making dinner. So I'll often use DoorDash just to get some lunch dropped off. So if you're looking to make your life a little bit easier this holiday season, whether that's shopping for gifts, simplifying mealtime, or if you're like me and you work from home and you don't want to stop the workflow to go drive around and get caught in traffic, DoorDash is your door to more. Download the DoorDash app where you can get almost anything delivered right to your door, and we're using my code CHUDS2024. You can save up to 50% off your first order, up to $10 on a $15 order, which is a limited time offer. Again, click the link in the description box of this video or use code CHUDS2024 at checkout to save up to 50% off, up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. Thank you, DoorDash. 3 days later, these things are finally out of the water bath, and I gotta tell you, it's been really weird looking at these cooking for the last 3 days straight. But the circulator did manage to do it, and the bag didn't break. You can see all the juices in there, so I think we're in good shape. Looking good. My only concern about these at this point is that they're gonna be really smoky, because when you vac seal smoked meats, a lot of times that smoke can kind of amplify. But let's crack this open. Ooh, keep all those juices in there. Oh, that smells so good. Oh, it's so beefy. And those look pretty damn good to me, folks. You know, I was a little worried about that color, but that looks like a smoked rack of beef ribs if I ever saw one. Just gonna go ahead and pat them dry. Feeling pretty firm still, but definitely tender. Like, look at that. For 100, ooh, that one broke a little bit. Oh yeah, look at that fat cap. Okay, at long last, I think it's time to slice on in, but they smell good, which is a good sign that nothing went wrong in the sous vide. I'm gonna flip these bad boys over. Ooh, that cuts like butter. And the big reveal. It looks like a pastrami beef rib. Nice and juicy. That fat looks pretty good. Does feel more tender than any medium rare beef rib I've ever seen. Oh yeah, that is dripping with juice. Can you see the give on the meat? This feels unlike any beef rib I've ever had before. Definitely looking good. Got a little smoke ring right there, but still nice and pink all the way through. Oh, that's exciting. Great color too. Little close up for you folks. These are looking really nice. Decent amount of fat render in there. The bark is nice and smoky, but let's take a bite and see how they came out. Bottoms up. Oh my God. Oh, look at that. It's so tender. Holy cow. I take back everything I said about worrying about these being too smoky, worrying about the bark not being there. This worked out perfectly. Like, you saw how tender that was? It was just like a barbecue beef rib, but it's steakier in flavor. The pepper is more pronounced too because it wasn't roasted for nearly as long. And by that I mean smoked. But like, just look at this. Look at that. It's as tender as a beef rib, but it eats and looks more like a steak. That is crazy. Definitely still as rich as a normal beef rib though. Oh, it's so juicy. I'm drowning over here. That is an automatic bell ring. This is an experience that you guys need to have. This is wild. It's just so tender. It's so medium rare. Or is it medium? I don't know, it looks nice and pink to me. Like I said earlier, it looks like a pastrami beef rib, but it does not taste like one. This has got so much potential. for like holiday dinner table if you want to serve barbecue, but maybe your family doesn't like barbecue. This is kind of in the middle of like a roast, and I don't even know what I'm saying. This is just blowing my mind right now. Nice and barky, nice and tender. I bet you could slice it up too. It's like a Wagyu steak, you know? It's so fatty and marbled, but still incredibly tender. That is so good. Right off the bat, I'd say give this one a try, folks. This is definitely something I'll be doing again, and something I want to explore more. Like, what if we did this with a brisket? Could we make a brisket tender if we cooked it for 3 days in sous vide? I guess we'll have to find out. That is just a ridiculous bite of food right there. Oh. This is just really interesting. You know, it's got the essence of a barbecue beef rib, but it's just more like a prime rib, but it's still smoky and tender. It's kind of like barbecue ribs, but like elevated a little bit. Very unique. This is something I could see some restaurants doing. I know a certain Michelin-starred barbecue restaurant around here that could definitely implement this for their steak night dinners, because that's just an experience right there. Whew, perfectly seasoned too. And I'll tell you one thing, I've eaten a lot more of this than I would a regular barbecue beef rib. The fat just melts in your mouth. So incredibly tender. I knew these were gonna be tender, but I thought it was gonna be more like a steak tender, but this is like straight up like fall apart barbecue tender, but so much beefier. This one's a winner, folks. But before I devour probably all of these and never tell anybody, I think it's time for the official taste test. This is my kind of experiment, folks. You know, it still is barbecue, right? It's smoked meats that were cooked incredibly low and slow. I've never cooked anything at 140 degrees before, but running a circulator is a lot easier than running a smoker. I'll tell you that much. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic, smoky, tender, medium rare barbecue beef ribs. I highly recommend giving this one a try. You know, it's been a long time since I had a new experience in the barbecue world, and that one was definitely top tier. And I know it seems a little impractical to cook something for 3 days, but you could probably get away with 1 or 2. That's an experiment worth doing. And really, it was a super easy cook, you know? Throw some seasoning on, couple hours on the pit, and then it's completely inactive from there on. And the result is unlike any beef rib I've ever cooked on this channel before. And now I guess I need to make some medium rare brisket or beef cheeks, medium rare barbacoa. I don't even know if it's even possible. Guess we'll have to find out. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you do give this a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. Love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.